President.
Senator from Washington.
Madam President, I would just ask unanimous consent for 5 minutes to speak on the nomination of Sylvia Burwell.
Is there objection? Without objection.
Thank you, Madam President, and I thank Senator Sessions, and I rise today to speak in support of Sylvia Burwell, whose nomination to be the next Director of the Office of Management and Budget was approved last week with strong bipartisan support by our Senate Budget Committee. As we all know, our country does face serious fiscal and economic challenges that we have got to work together to address. The American people are looking to us to end this constant artificial crisis and political brinksmanship that are really threatening our fragile economic recovery. They want us to come together around fair solutions that work for our middle class, help the economy grow, and tackle our deficit and debt fairly and responsibly. It is time that we stop governing from crisis to crisis and return stability and regular order to our budget process. That is why I'm so pleased that we have such an exceptional and qualified nominee to lead OMB in Sylvia Burwell. I know she's the right person to come into this leadership role at this important time for our country. She is no stranger to OMB or to tackling important fiscal issues. In the 1990s, she was a critical part of President Clinton's economic team. She served as Deputy Director of the Office of Management and Budget, Deputy Chief of Staff to the President, and Chief of Staff to the Secretary of Treasury. In those roles, she worked very closely with Jack Lew, Erskine Bowles, Robert Rubin, and the rest of President Clinton's economic team to help produce 3 out of the 4 budget surpluses in a row. During her tenure, our government took a fair and credible and a sustainable approach to our federal budget. That gave businesses the confidence to hire new workers and invest in their growth. Her leadership and hard work in the 90s helped to create broad-based economic growth that worked for the middle class and turned our debt and deficits problems around. Madam President, Sylvia's first-hand experience creating a balanced and responsible approach to deficit reduction makes her uniquely qualified to lead OMB at this important time for our country. Since the 1990s, Sylvia has dedicated her life to helping people all over the world. As the president of the Global Development Program and the chief operating officer at the Gates Foundation, she worked to improve the lives of millions across the globe. Under her leadership, the foundation invested in important programs to help combat poverty and produce clean water and improve literacy and provide emergency relief to those who need it the most. Most recently, as president of the Walmart Foundation, she led the foundation's charitable giving and focused on critical issues such as hunger relief and women's economic empowerment. Not only do Sylvia's achievements in the foundation and philanthropy worlds demonstrate her vast experience managing global budgets, but they also speak volumes of her values and demonstrate her deep, lifelong commitment to serving others. Sylvia grew up understanding the value of hard work and public service. Her parents have both been community leaders in West Virginia for over a half a century. Her father is a longtime optometrist, and her mother, the Honorable Cleo Matthews, served as the mayor of her hometown of Hinton and later served on the West Virginia State Board of Education for a decade. As my colleague Senator Manchin said when he introduced her to our Budget Committee, it's easy to see that public service is a part of Sylvia's DNA. Madam President, as the Director of OMB, Sylvia will help set our nation's priorities and make tough decisions about our federal spending. So I'm glad that Sylvia knows that budgets are about more than abstract numbers and partisan back and forth. As a second generation as a Greek American, Sylvia understands the importance of the promise of American opportunity. She knows budgets are a reflection of our values and our priorities, and that they are about families across the country whose lives and future are impacted by the decisions that we make. Madam President, not only is Sylvia an expert on domestic economic policy and a dedicated public servant, she has a demonstrated track record of working across the aisle to get things done. During her time in Washington in the 90s, she reached across the aisle and negotiated the balanced and fair budgets with Republicans in Congress. She knows that working to find common ground is the key to solving our fiscal challenge, a point made clear by her during her confirmation hearing in front of our Senate Budget Committee this month. So I'm pleased that her nomination has passed our committee on a voice vote with strong bipartisan approval. Republicans, including Senator Sessions, who here on the floor have praised Sylvia as someone who is, by all accounts, well-liked and an able leader with commitment to public service. So, Madam President, I support this nomination. I urge our colleagues to vote yes, and I yield back the remainder of my time.